Assalamu-Alikum and welcome back. So our today topic is about that why we study the history of economics. So for this we get aids in the understanding of economics, and it also provides an introduction to part of intellectual history, and it helps illustrate how ideas develop and change within academic disciplines. Also, it helps to create more critical attitudes and abilities. So, these are the importance. Now, the evaluation of economic ideas. As economic is a critical discourse, and this discourse takes place within generally agreed standards of scientific procedures which themselves change over time. This discourse takes place within a context of intellectual development in other disciplines, and this discourse takes place within a context of events. So the history of this discourse is not predetermined or predictable, but is contingent. So what are the main period of this history of economics? So the first one was the pre-classical up to 1776. After that, the classical and the time period was 1776 to 1870s. After that, the marginal revolution, and the time period of the marginal revolution was 1870 to 1890s. After that, the new classical economics and their time period was 1892 till that. After that, the Keynesian revolution in 1936 to 1960s, and formalist economics 1945 to date. So the history of economic thought covers some of the pre-classical period and the classical period. Now, some background of to this period, the intellectual background. So that was the 15th century to 16th century, where the growth of trade, markets, and towns decline of the managerial system and growth of science. So it provides the foundations of Newton's, and it linked with the rational thought and empirical observation, and that was the period of 1642 to 1727. So this is the intellectual background. Now, the early application of science to political philosophy. So, John Locke two treatises of government, and the time period was 1689, an essay concerning human understanding, 1689, state of nature not as a hobby thought, but subject to natural laws. Reason indicate all peoples are equal and independent, and that no one should harm another in life, health, ability, liberty, or property. So labor is the origin and justification of property. Freedom and rational Free and rational people will form a political society for the better protecting of natural right. So state does not have unlimited authority. Contract or consent is the basis of government and fix its limits. Influence the American Constitution. Now, the economic and political background is agricultural revolution, and that was the time period of 1730 to 1830. After that, industrial revolution, and the industrial revolution came into being in 1730 to 1830. After Political unrest in Europe, wars, French Revolution 1789 and Napoleonic Wars, Battle of Waterloo 1815. So, colonies and empire building by European states, issues of the franchise, free trade, population, poor laws, Factories Act, Ireland, and slavery. Now we will uh, discuss about the map of the course. In this course, we already discussed the classical era, and that was the time period of 1680s to 1830s, in which a progress was made in macroeconomics in studying the interconnection between the different sectors of the economy. After that, the marginalist era, and the marginalist era was 1830 to 1930, in which progress was made in microeconomic in understanding what rational behavior by consumer and businesses look like and what rational behavior means for the economy as a whole. And now the current era from 1930s to till date, in which the progress was made in making mathematical precision and the acceptable way and the main way of making an economic argument. So before the Adam Smith, or we can say the pre-classical economics, 18th century and earlier. So the economic knowledge that existed prior to the emergence of the classical schools came from three main sources. Number one was the everyday experience, the second was the scholastic moral philosophy, and the third one is mercantilist writing. So commonplace economics, some economic ideas were so well known even to common people that it make no sense to try to figure out who stated them first. So the example included are successive unit of a commodity unless urgently needed. The second one is abundance reduce prices and scarcity increases them. The third one is demand is universally related to the price and supply is indirectly related. The fourth one is more fertile and are better located land earns a higher rent, and the fourth one is the trade occurs because natural resources endowment vary from place to place. So scholastic economics in the middle age of 476 to 1476 to 1453, some economic thinking was carried out by the Catholic priests and philosophers teaching in the emerging universities. So their initial motivation was to address ethical issues related to economic activities. They were not satisfied with evaluating economic outcome on the basis of divine revolution. So following Aristotle, from the time is 386 BC to 322 to 384 BC, whose writings were rediscovered toward the end of the Middle Ages. The scholastics sought to base their understanding of what was or wasn't just based on natural law, by which was meant the predictable ways in which societies function, which in turn was thought to be akin to and as dependable as the law of nature. Mercantilism. Now, this school of economic thought arose in England during the 16th through 18th centuries. Many of the contributors to this literature were merchants or members of the mercantile class. Hence the name. The main theme of this literature were as follows. The ultimate objective of economic policy is the political power of the state, both internal and external. The second one is the power gained by one state in is inevitably associated with the power lost by another state. Therefore, the interests of nation states are perpetually in conflict. The third one is a nation's power is measured by its population and its stock of precious metals such as the gold and silver embodied in the money in use at the time. So a high population could supply soldiers, many money in the government treasury could pay for large armies and navies. Population growth and rate treasury could only come from prosperous industry and trade. This prosperity could be brought about if the economy's stock of money, for example gold and silver coins, was large.